All right, I hit record and I'll welcome you all into the space. This is our monthly group coaching call that I run every month that is open to anyone, right? It's open to anyone. Anyone can come in, even if they're not part of the pack yet, Hopefully they'll come in and join this call and go, oh my God, you guys are so amazing, and then want to join the pack. That would be nice. And it just gives people a taste of coaching, of what coaching is, what it can do, how we can roam in this particular part of the work that we do. If you remember that triangle, I put a video in about that just recently, and I've put it in a few master classes or other things because it's really landed for me what makes this work so powerful. And it's not just the content. Yeah. I mean, put your hand up if you're like me and you've bought a course, you've tried to do the course, haven't finished the course, right? Let go of the course, put the course down. Yeah. And it's like putting money down the toilet, right? 2 hands for Mike, 2 hands for Shani. Shani, if you weren't driving, I'm sure you'd probably put your feet up as well. But we've all done this, right? We've all done this. And there's a reason for it. And it's because it doesn't have the other 2 C's on the triangle, which is the coaching and the community. And when you've got a community that is roaming alongside you, it doesn't have to be the WolfPack, but this is just the one that we're in. It supports you, it empowers you, it encourages you. You're held accountable by your peers who all want the same thing, right? They want to live their relationships by magic. They want to live their lives by magic. And they want to relate in a different way. So as that all landed for me, because I've done some pretty deep dive trainings in my time, some of them, with some of the people that are here, which is awesome. And a lot of the time, or often I would feel like I was kind of spat out at the end of it and then left to kind of flounder and like, well, what the hell do I do now? I've had this massive big peak experience and then there's nothing, where'd everybody go, like that. So that's not what we do here, right? We don't do that here because we know, and even back then I didn't know, that this is the battle of Evermore. Right? This is the battle of Evermore. We do this work and our shit still comes up. Still comes up. Yeah, so if you're still here thinking, oh, if I just do enough work, if I just do another training, I won't get triggered and I won't get upset. Yeah, nah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah, but how you ride that shitstorm, right? Yeah, with a lot more grace and a lot more humor. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And I didn't used to have this humor that I do. I was really serious and really intense and made everything wrong and made everything bad that it shouldn't be happening. And now that I don't do that, it's like, okay, I'm here. What's the most graceful move forward? How can I respond to this situation rather than freak out and react? Yeah. So that's definitely where I've come from. So welcome everybody. It's March. Can you believe it's March already? Right? I was saying to my kids, it's like, does it feel like, time's like going fast for you? And they're like, nah. And I'm like, yeah, you wait. You wait, buddy. So all of a sudden it's like, my God, there's another year that's gone by. So it's March already. We're here for the group coaching call. So beautiful to welcome you in the space. Beautiful to have the new faces that are here that have just joined us recently. Great to see you, Kevin. And Heather is with us as well. So what I would love to do is, if you've got something that is sitting on top that's really there for you, take yourself off mute and share it. Or you can put a question in the chat box, even if it's a theme that you would like some talking around, right? For me to share some insight on. If you do take yourselves off mute, the reason why it's so good to do it in the chat box is that you're not going to sit there and write a novel, right? It's like sit there for half an hour writing your last week's every detail. But if you take yourself off mute and you share, it can be really easy to go into story and to go off on tangents, which I'm a bit of an expert at. So we want to keep it to essence. It's like, what is it? What's at the core? If you take what's on top and then trace it down, What's at the core of it that you would like some insight around? Cool. So the floor is open, everybody. Shona, you've got the coolest camera angle. Oh, it's gone now. It was so good. It's like looking up this stairwell or something.
I got one.
Go, Judy. Hey, lovely.
Hi. So, one of my beliefs that's been coming up really strong this last week is the belief that I'm unlovable. And I think it stemmed from, my father was very, very absent as a child, like completely emotionally absent. I never even called him dad. I called him by his first name my whole life. And I remember as a kid, my mom would like push me towards him to go give him a hug, and we would both feel really awkward, I remember that, like being 3 years old, just not wanting to go near him or give him a hug. So, because I felt like he didn't want that from me. And I guess I just developed this belief that I'm unlovable to help me cope with that. And it's still coming up for me.
Yep. Yep. Who resonates with that? Yeah, there were a lot of absent fathers around, right? I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about how he parents, because when we have an absent father, look, Kevin's a dad, I can see his little one there. When we have an absent father, I'm just checking who's not on. I'm just going to mute you, Judy, just because there's a bit of feedback. When we have absent fathers, and when we're a kid, we make it about us, right? Which you've probably heard me speak about. We make it all about us. It's like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. There's a reason why he doesn't want to hug me, because there's something wrong with me. I'm unlovable, right? All of that sort of stuff comes up. And it's not that at all. Yeah. We have a whole line of history of fathers that weren't hands-on dads, right? They weren't present. They weren't engaged. They weren't emotionally available. A lot of them weren't even physically present, right? Because they're off working. That's what they did. That's where we've come from. Yeah, the role models of men and women were women stayed at home, men went to work, right? And if we've got no reference point, cool, okay, Catherine. If we've got no reference point for how a father can be in this different world that we're now living in, they don't have one either, right? So your dad and a lot of the other dads that we would have as well will be parenting from that place of just not knowing what the hell to do because they never had it themselves. Yeah. And it's big, and it does. It absolutely creates this lack of being good enough, which is a really strong father-derived belief, because all we want our fathers to do is see us. That's all we want. It's like, see me, dad, look at me, right? That's what it is. All we want are our fathers to see us. It's not the nurturing and the nourishing that we're necessarily seeking from our father. It's the acknowledgement, right? And some of you would have heard me say it before, that we seek nurturing and love to know that we have a heart from our mother in the first couple of years. Yeah. And then it shifts to the father, and the father is meant to show us how to take that heart out into the world. Yeah. And if they don't show us how to do that, then we never actually learn. Right. And then we close off our heart. And not feeling lovable is it's sort of the layer above so many of those other beliefs, right? Not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, not feeling powerful to change anything, it sits above that because it's relevant for so many of them, right? So what do you do, right, when you've got this playing out? We start to look, and you'll laugh when I say this, because so much of the time I'm saying we don't look outwards, we look inwards, right? We're looking inwards to see what's coming up for us, right? Man, I feel unlovable, and I can trace it back to where this started happening, right? A 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, when all we want is to be seen by our father, and he's not there. He's not able to give us what we need. So therefore, we make it about us, we create a belief about us, and we carry that through. So when we can actually start to use that awareness that we're discovering in ourselves, right? Then we can start to apply it to the other people in our world, right? Because your dad would have had the same shit going on from his father, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, these are the cycles, and it helps us to bring compassion outside of ourselves. It helps us to lift the resentment from our parents, right? Give me a wave if you've had a bit of resentment against your parents, right? I mean, that might be a sort of surface level word, right? It might go down into actual frustration and rage and anger and pissed offness and, all of that. But resentment, for sure, it's like, man, you didn't love me the way that I wanted you to. You didn't love me the way that I needed you to. Right? And that's what we create as kids. And as we deepen into this work with the understanding that our parents are never going to love us in the way that we need them to. They're never going to do it. It's impossible. Yeah, and it helps us let them off the hook. And it also helps us get ourselves off the hook if we are parents ourselves. Yeah, you're never going to love your kid the way that they want you to. Never. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. What we can do is share that awareness and say, kids, my measuring stick for love is different to your measuring stick for love, and somehow we got to find out how to meet. Yeah. And I've asked my kids, I'm like, what makes you feel loved? What do I do that makes you feel loved? I mean, could you imagine if your parents asked you that? Right? But they didn't, because they were so in their own stuff. But because of the fact that when we're kids, we make it all about us, we don't see that, right? We don't see the limitations of our parents. Yeah. And it means that we end up resenting them, getting angry at them and getting pissed off. But they're just in the same cycles that we're in. Yeah. So compassion, love compassion for yourself. Right, and applying that premise of your thoughts and feelings not being real, like, it's a practice that even though it's like that unlovable feeling comes up, and it comes up not only with our father, obviously, then it's going to start playing out in all of our relationships, right? Yeah, even with our own children, we're going to feel unloved by our own kids. Yeah. By our partners, by our friends, it's going to play out. And we have to track that feeling and question it. Because it's not true. Yeah, it's not true. Has Judy popped off? She did. Oh, well. Oh, no, I can just see her ceiling. Oh, there you are. She's there. Did you hear? Okay, cool. How does that sound? Yeah, it's like love and compassion for yourself, checking in with those thoughts and feelings, and also really starting to practice the love and compassion towards your father, because he was limited, babe, like really limited. Yeah. And this practice that we do of uncovering our victim, uncovering all these beliefs, and then uncovering and starting to connect with our own greatness, we start to do that with everybody around us as well. Yeah, it's like pop your dad in his greatness circle.
I suppose it does help
it's a beautiful practice
to know where he is.
I think you're frozen, Judy.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So were you going to make a comment that was relevant to this show? I was looking at everybody going, oh, Judy's frozen. Then I was like, hang on, Shane's frozen as well. Charlie's frozen too. Oh, it must be me. Okay, so something happened. My connection dropped out. But we're back. So, Judy, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels I mean, I guess it just feels quite cerebral at the moment, as in like I've got to come at it from the mind. Like, oh, I have compassion for my dad. He didn't know what he was doing, but it's I guess the feeling that I'm left with is this feeling of being unlovable.
Mm-hmm.
And just, yeah, and it's come up a lot this last week with the grief that I've been moving through.
Mm-hmm.
And and I can come at it with the mind, and maybe that is the way that I have to do it. Is, because I know it's not true, but the feeling is there. Yeah.
Yeah, but we know that the feelings are not real.
I know. I've been
Ah!
remembering that. I've been remembering that as well. And the thoughts, like the fucking thoughts that my mind has been spinning at me this week have, like, it's been really helpful to remember that, like, hold on a minute, that's just fucking bullshit. That's not even real at all. It just tells me shit and it's not even true.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's been really helpful. And the feelings not being real. Yeah. Just remembering that all the time when you're in the grips of it. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. That's it. And because the thoughts, my God, it's crazy, right? I mean,
Mm.
I've trained myself to now observe them, and they just fly by, and I'm just like, really? I'm like, it's like a theater show. Some of the shit that goes through my mind. And now I've got, I've been practicing this work for a while, and to get to that place is where we want to get to. All of us want to get to. It's like, these thoughts, they're not going to stop, but we can learn to work with them and not engage with them. And the feelings that come up, I mean, I literally used to put pieces of paper with "your thoughts and feelings aren't real" written in big letters, like all over my house, man, because I was just like, I need to have this like stamped on my forehead or on my, everywhere. So this is what we need to do to be able to really, really allow that to sink in, because I know people that have been doing this work a while and have been, cranking along pretty well, but that premise is still the one that is tripping them up. I'm like, dude, you're making your thoughts and feelings real. Yeah. So the other thing that I was going to say, Judy, is like, when I was saying to my kids, it's like, what can I do that makes you feel loved? But the other side of that question is, what can you do that makes you feel loved? Right? What can you do? Yeah, because as soon as, to bring that question in with my kids, it was like, wow, this is a different thing. So they're taking ownership of it. They're taking ownership of it to tell me, oh, Mum, I really love it when you blah, 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 right? When you scratch my back, or, give me a foot massage, whatever, whatever. I'm making things up. But, or I really like it when you say, when you call me this, right? Like we have these little pet names that we call each other, right? And some of them they like and some of them they don't, right? So what is it that makes you feel loved, but what is it that makes them feel loved? So what is it that makes you feel loved, Judy? You know?
It's so interesting, it's like I'm sort of percolating with that question, and what is it that makes me feel loved by another is such a different answer to what makes me feel loved by me, you know? I actually don't fucking know
Yeah.
what makes me feel loved by me. I mean, self-care, having I don't even know. I don't know. What makes you feel loved by you, Jacqueline?
It's such a good question, because I was exactly the same. I was like, I don't know, because I'd never even thought about it, right? And you've probably heard me say before, it's like when I ask people what they want, they don't know. When I ask people what they don't want, fucking get out the scroll, right? And they're reading a whole list. But I tell you, because I've done a video on this, I know I have. It's like, it's not chocolates, it's not bubble bath, it's not all that shit that people say, right? What makes me feel loved is blind consciousness, right? When I can see my thoughts flying by and I'm like, yeah, whatever, to my thoughts, right? And really, really applying this work. That is what makes me feel loved, because I know that I'm doing what I need to be doing to not engage with this stuff and screw myself, right? Because this is what happens. I mean, there's other things. Yeah, I do like going in the bath. And, sometimes I binge Netflix in the bath and I love it, right? So it's just whatever it is, making a phone call, right? Talking to someone that I care about, that really makes me feel loved. And it's
Mm,
something that I really got in my own way about because I used to hate talking on the phone. I had fear around it,
mm,
but it always made me feel better afterwards, right?
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So look at the things that, potentially are in the uncomfortable zone, if especially asking for if somebody else is involved because it's leaning into those that really really help me find the things that make me feel loved. Yeah, and how I can love myself. Yeah, because that's what we learn to do in this work. Learn how to love ourselves and validate ourselves so that we're not looking for it and searching for it outside. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Beautiful. All right. So we got Charlie and then we got Shane and then we're going to see who's next. Kevin had to leave for a nappy emergency. Not
Yeah.
his, though. Awesome.
Hi. Yeah, I think mine's a little bit allied to what Judy's just said. But it's been sitting with me for a while, this one, and it's um the stuff that we're doing, and particularly the way we can then see our mind or the thoughts as not being real and everything, and the feelings even as not being an accurate representation, and techniques to let go of feelings to help them move on through. I'm loving all of that stuff. And there's still that bit, like a really good friend in England that I spoke to today, and he sort of said, draw a line under history. And it's like, yeah, I absolutely get that as well. Everything that's happened has already happened. It's not happening in front of me now.
Mm.
And there's still the trigger points, known or unknown, where trauma comes back up to surface.
Yeah.
And um yeah, that's so it's almost not a question, but it's a sort of thing that I just slightly um feel that I don't necessarily have a handle exactly on that, because there's that intergenerational aspect of trauma. It's not even all just what necessarily came from parents. Of course, a lot did, but they got it from their parents and so on and so on.
Mm.
In my case, my dad was very affected by the Second World War. Also I got an impact on it, but the whole of Europe is impacted much more than, say, New Zealand and that sort of thing.
Mm.
Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body of particular environments and countries and bits of land.
Yep.
So I guess it's something along that path of, where does that sit alongside the sense that if we do lots of this work, we ought to be able to start handling stuff and almost have less of it coming up. So I loved your Battle of Evermore. I find that very much in tune with what I'm talking about. um,
Mm.
and I guess there's something also about people who maybe are overly empathetic with energies or other people's pain as well as their own pain. Blimey, so we haven't got enough on our own plate. We'll go out and worry about other people's, particularly in family or wherever else it may be being triggered from as well. So for me, that can be in the parenting role and other things. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything you can take from that, Jax, that you want
Yeah,
to talk.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I love this whole dialogue because it's something that I've been really conscious of as well. It's like even just the thoughts that I was talking about, when I was having a little giggle about some of the shit that comes into my head, right? And a lot of it is not mine. Right? It's not even my thoughts because we are all tuned in, we're all connected in, right? At a soul level. So to to think that the thoughts that we're having just belong to us, right? It's not helpful and is not true. And the same with the feelings, right? And as you say, there are places that have definitely got a lot more a lot longer history. Like I had a friend who came over and he was we were meditating together, and he said, wow, meditating here is so different. It just doesn't have the density of Europe where he's used to meditating, right? And he was like, this is great, right? So I absolutely agree, and I totally get what you're saying. And people that are more susceptible energetically, they're going to be taking on other people's stuff, right? And they're going to feel it. And we get to a place where there are people in the world who are going to be moving through a lot of other people's and long line, historically and ancestrally, going to be moving through a lot more than other people. Yeah. And I remember seeing a video, I actually shared it on my stories, because it was talking about how we define mental health, right? These are the people that are doing this work, right? They're the people that are feeling everything and that are, gripped by it. And we define them as mental health patients, right? It's like, no, they're just feeling everything, man, because back in the World War, I mean, my mum was a war baby, so she was born in the middle of the World War, and they couldn't feel all of that, right? They just couldn't. They wouldn't have survived. They would have gone nuts. So it's like it all went on pause. Yeah. And now it's starting to come through because we're able to handle it more, to put it in a really simplistic way. But now it's like for those of us who can feel more, we want to empower ourselves with tools to be able to navigate that as gracefully as we can, right? And to be able to just allow it almost to pass through us. Yeah. And Eckhart Tolle talks about this a lot, right? We just get out of its way. The problem is that we have so much conditioning that makes us believe it's real, right? Believe it's true, believe the thoughts are true, believe the feelings are real, and get in their way, squash them down, screw a lid on it, and don't let it just pass through. Right. And if we can even imagine just for a moment that we can see these thoughts coming and just not engage with them. So, oh yeah, wow, whoo, there goes another one. Whoa, whatever it is. And if we're able to be in a triggered moment and to be able to question it, right, but just get out of its way. Okay, I've got to just allow this to move through. Yeah. And as I said, people move through things differently. People are dealing with different levels of this stuff, different levels of trauma, different levels of what's happened to them, which is the way that I always language it, because I don't think trauma is a useful word. Yeah. I mean, when I say trauma, my definition of it, and it may be different for other people, but my definition of it, and this is what I worked out for myself, was that it was like an anchor inside of me. Yeah, my trauma was me, and I was my trauma, and I couldn't get away from it. So I just dragged that fucking anchor around, and it, moving through life from that anchored position. And when I was able to separate it from myself and say, yeah, man, I had a lot of shit that happened to me in my past, in my childhood, right? And that would have come from a lot of shit that happened to my parents and their parents and all the way down the line. But how, so as I said, a lot different people will have different levels of stuff that they're moving through. So we've got to get more practiced at it, right? About getting out of its way. And I spent the tools that you're aware of, Charlie, and some of the other people on this call as well, the tools that I use, right? And I've taught them very specifically before, but now it's like if you're moving your body and energy is moving out and moving through, great. Because so often when we're triggered, we contract up and we hold it. Yeah, we contain it, and it's not helping us. Or if there's grief, like the grief position is to fold up in a little ball, right? And go in like this. And what we're, opening out and allowing it out. I used those tools for 1.5 years, every day. Right? I don't need to use them so much anymore because I made a commitment to myself to allow the stuff space to move. Yeah. And that's why I talk about emotions so much, because it's blocking our path, right? It's blocking the new consciousness. It's blocking the depth of connection that we would love. It's blocking everything. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot there, Charlie. Hey, even just in that share, and the what we're doing here is the battle of evermore. You know, we're in it. We're applying these premises to the best of our ability and reminding each other of them every day and putting them up on, you know, like big post-its, not the little posters. You can't see that shit, right? I don't want thoughts and feelings aren't real, right? And practicing. Yeah. And when we can bring the lightness in that, wow, you know, this is what we're all dealing with in our lives as humans. And how can we get more graceful while we're doing it? Cool. Does that help, Charlie? Good conversation, eh? Yeah. Yeah. I'm just reading your comment, Charlie. Much more deep breathing when sadness. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Nature's a really beautiful place to allow emotion to move. Yeah. I've screamed into wet grass, and you know, I've told you the wave story. I was talking to my boys the other day. Someone actually sent me a message. You know, I don't know them very well, but they'd heard me say it, and they said I was in the waves, and I was fucking the waves, and I was getting, you know, allowing this big emotion to come through. And you know, if we're not doing that, and here's the other thing that I'll say: if we just wait for ourselves to get triggered, right, then we're in the maintenance zone, right? We're just taking off the top layer. Yeah, because this is never going to stop. If we actually want to start to clear out the basement, is the way that I language it, then we've got to be using those tools and moving the energy, even when it doesn't feel like we've got anything going on, right? Because then we're getting to the stuff that's been buried. Yeah. So it's a practice that we commit to start to clear out this basement so that we become this clear channel, right? And then it just moves through. Just like the thoughts, when we get to that place where they're just flying past, the emotions just starts to move through as well. And it's like, whoa, okay, I'm going to move my body. Whoa, my mother said something and I'm really triggered, like she did yesterday. What did she say? Like, I went out on a date last night and she goes, oh, are you wearing that dress? I was like, oh, okay, Mum, I'm just going to go for a little walk outside. Be back in a minute. It was a really nice dress. Anyway, I think you get my point. Okay. Beautiful. Constant reminders to feed the white wolf. Yes. Yes. Proactive. Love it. Just coming back. I'm coming to you, Shane. The fat laughing Buddha with the same sack of trauma that we all drag around. Yeah. Only here's we want to put a hole in that sack. You can let go. And laughing, I tell you, right? I'm going to do a workshop this weekend. I think it's one of the last workshops. So I'm already foreseeing the complaints that we'll get about being the last workshop, because a bunch of people said, man, why didn't we have this workshop first? Because it's all about play, right? It's all about play. The more playful you can be with this stuff, the faster things are going to move. Yeah, it's a portal. Yeah, it's a portal. When you can learn to laugh at yourself and laugh at your dysfunction and laugh at your, you know, the way that you responded. Yeah, and you may not be even anywhere close to that, but that's the intention, right? It's like, damn, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but that's what I want. I want to be able to laugh at this shit, right? I want to be able to laugh when I'm, you know, when I'm and you know, when my mother's telling me not to wear that dress, I want to be able to laugh, and I can feel the energy in my body, but I got a smile on my face as I'm walking out the door. I'll be back in a minute, Mum. Yeah. year ago, 2 years ago, I would have been, because she's baiting me in, right? And I'm like, I'm not taking the bait. She's trying to feed my dark wolf. And see, this is the thing. It's not even whether we're feeding our dark wolf, it's the people outside of us are feeding our dark wolf as well. By baiting us, they're trying to hook us in. Come and play on the drama triangle, right? I'm like, nah, I'm going to go and shake this out of my body and then I'm going to come back and have a conversation, right? I told you guys about the last thing when she was talking about my hair. I said, I don't want to talk about my hair, Mum. Let's talk about your hair. Do you want to talk about your hair? And she, that shut her up, right? No, I don't want to talk about my hair. Because that's the judgment. Yeah, the judgment she's putting on me on about my hair is about her hair because she doesn't like her hair. All judgment is self-judgment. Love it. Shane, what's happening?
Order. This is probably going back a little bit to the I guess it ties in with the fathering wounds and all that sort of stuff anyway, but just had a really powerful experience of this, like just fucking clocking myself, because fucking I was gone, man. I was gone. Making shit mean all this stuff, and I'm like, this is fucked. This does not mean all this stuff. I couldn't necessarily stop, like, the thoughts running away, but I'm like, this is not what's happening right now. The story that I've got in my head is not real, even though it's still continuing. So I basically had the opportunity to move back into my original accommodation deal here and get out of this temple space in the tent because it's just invaded with a mass of workers and it's fucked. It's no place to live anymore. And I got caught in a moment. I'd just come out of there and I'm like, man, I got to get back into my original accommodation. And Franco stopped. He's like, how you doing, man? And I was just like, you ask me shit these days, I'm just going to be straight up. And I was like, I'm struggling with this accommodation, man. I need to get back in the thing. And he's like, oh yeah, I just passed that on now that it's vacant to someone's coming from Bali, some artist on Tuesday. And I was just like, fuck. Like, triggered as, it was like, fuck, my deal was I had this till March. And I was gone. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to go and process this, man. Took myself away. And then just the thought, the train just come like, oh, I'm not even loved and valued in this community. And like it went, man. I was gone. I'm like, this is not happening. So I just walked. I just went and walked and then went and had a yak to one of the guys here who's just a straight shooter, He's fucking awesome. He's like, go, just go back and talk to him. And so I did. So about 40 minutes later, I just went around and I just said, hey, bro, this is our original deal. I really need that space. And he's like, fuck, of course. We love you, brother. You need it. So everything, all that story and just being able to clock that, and turn that whole situation around within an hour, where before, I'd still be crying under a rock or something, maybe right now. Maybe not that bad, It was just a real powerful experience of moving through that. And so yeah, the next night I was back up on the top of the hill watching a beautiful sunset from that space. And none of what I thought was going on was real. It was just a whole bunch of communication, between a series of people that was sort of breaking down or whatever. Yeah, and there was a second point. Just coming back to when you were chatting with Charlie there about the that collective pain experience thing, that something there really landed with me. Because I always used to think that, oh, fuck, I never really experienced a hell of a lot, or if I'm in comparisonitis with the rest of the world, from my parents in my childhood. And I was always like, well, it's the way I reacted, sort of unconsciously or whatever to it that set my path in order until starting to wake the fuck up. But what you were saying there about And this certain of us that are more sensitive to things that were not necessarily directly in my experience in this time around, but potentially more attuned to it from other times around. I was like, I had a powerful experience of that when I was in this tantric workshop, and we were sort of really inducing this stuff, you know, working with a lot of methods to really bring this shit out, let's just say. And fuck, I was having all sorts of crazy stuff releasing, and I knew at the time I was like, this is not mine. This is nothing to do with my experience in my lifetime. And yeah, I had no meaning behind it. There was no story. There was just this pain, this fucking just grief, like absolute hysterical kind of grief coming out. And I'm like, this is nothing from my experience. And not, I don't even need to know what it is. It doesn't even matter. Yeah, so I just thought I'd touch on that to go, that sparked my interest, what you were saying there, you know?
Yeah. Really cool stuff. Like just the making shit mean shit, right? It's the meanings we attach to everything. Just the first points that you were making, because that's the downward spiral, right? As soon as we're in that, we're gone. And it is the way that you languaged that or articulated it was beautiful, because we're gone. We're off the horse. We are spiraling down that hole. And to get yourself back on the horse and have a conversation and be able to step into that is huge, right? Because like, if I just take all the meanings off, what's the way forward here? Right? And, someone else might have offered that suggestion, bro, just go and talk to the guy, right? Oh yeah, it's like really obvious thing. But when you're in the, right, the vortex of the downward spiral, that's not obvious. It's all of the meanings and all of the shit. And oh man, I'm not loved here. I don't belong. All the beliefs are coming and smacking you in the face. That's what's happening, right?
And because to go back there and face that person to have that conversation, if you've got all that meaning going around, it's like I'm going back to go and try and have a conversation with my unloving father.
Yes.
What you're trying to do. So you're like, I'm facing the nemesis again.
Yeah, man.
If all that meaning's playing out, but if it's not, you're like, fuck, that can still play there, and I can just go and have a conversation about the facts anyway. I'm not necessarily in the downward spiral, but that's fucking just spinning, and it's just okay. It's just deal with facts.
Yeah, you got back on the horse, right? It's like, and you're right. Everything just plays out. All of the thoughts can be there. It can all be there. It's just whether or not we engage with it, right? And sometimes it's so convincing and it's so seductive. Because it wants us to engage with it, because that's how it keeps us safe. It keeps us small. It keeps us trapped in those beliefs. So your ego can sit back and say, see, told you you didn't see you, told you don't belong here, told you you're unlovable. All of that shit makes the ego really happy, right? So, and sometimes we can't do it in the moment, right? If we look back, this is when we start to do this work. We look back and go, oh my God, whoa, that, sometimes it's 3 months later and we're like, whoa, I really got the wrong end of the stick. That all of that shit that I made that situation mean, and it all comes out, right? It's like, oh my, someone gives you some new information, you hear something from someone else and you're like, whoa, I made that mean a whole lot of stuff that it just didn't mean. Far out. There's a good lesson, right? And then as we keep practicing, it gets closer to the moment, right? And it doesn't mean that you're going to get it perfect. Like, I had a go at my little guy the other day, and I was saying, I really can't believe that I'm saying this right now, but blah, 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 and I literally just told him, just ignore me. I just have to, blah, blah, like I could have actually taken myself away, but I didn't. And I was, and he was just receiving all this stuff. And that was the day that we both went into my bedroom and started you know, moving the energy through. And I learned the headbutting pillow thing, which was super fun. And we just ended up laughing, right? And we were both really triggered at each other. And I couldn't stop it from coming out. And sometimes we just can't, man. We're not robots, right? But the beautiful thing about this life is that if you can take personal responsibility and if you can own your shit, you can't get it wrong. You can't, because you can always go back and say, whoa, man, I really screwed that up. You know, I can see it now. I couldn't see it when it was coming out of my mouth, but I can see it now and I'm really sorry and whatever, right?
Accountability, it's like, and you know, if you have the courage to do that, it's the most amazing thing. Like I kind of like sounds really fucked up, but I almost get off on it in a way. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
fucked up
sexy
and I
as,
just won't
man.
admit to it. And it's like, it's just like a relief for myself, you know, to show that, and hey, I fucked up. But the way that it is received by people is phenomenal, because people aren't used to that. You know, people are not used to someone coming up and saying, hey man, I really fucked up. I hear you, I see you, and I'm sorry for what I did. I can't change that. Moving forwards, you know, I can do this and put some fucking action to it. And people were just like,
What?
fuck is this? What the fuck just happened, you know? And it's like, yeah, it's well, for me anyway, that I work to normalize that practice for myself.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want to see in the world.
Yep. Yeah, and we bring what we want to receive, right? We bring it, because if we're just expecting other people to do it, forget it. It's not going to happen. We bring it, right? We bring the communication we want to receive. We bring the ownership and the self-responsibility. We bring it. Yeah, and you're right.
The more you do it, the more you start, you know, it's reciprocated by people, or you'll meet a new person and that new person is like that. And you're like, oh, I'm changing my field. The new people that are coming in are what I'm putting out. And that old shit is sort of phasing out. And you're like, fuck, all of a sudden your tribe just gets.
Yeah, because if you're operating at that frequency, right? Like blame and judgment, this is lower density frequency stuff. Yeah. And if you're lifting your consciousness and operating at a completely different frequency, then that stuff isn't welcome anymore. It can't handle it, right? And it just fades away.
It's like yeah. So when I was still in this public space, and that's when I was sort of like, fuck, I gotta get out of here. Because there were some people in there and their conversation was all about stuff that was been in the news and everything. Oh, the economic situation and this, and I'm just like, fuck, I just don't. I haven't had anything to do with any of that, and I'm like, fuck, I'm out of here. Like I don't even want to engage in this. It's pointless. Like yeah, I judge the fuck out of them. Not, you know, just in my own mind, but I was like, I'm out of here. Wow, oh man, I'm fucking done with that conversation, that shit.
Yeah, but if you can use your judgment as a tool, right? And it's a tool. Yeah, if you just judge people and you don't look at what that judgment means about you, because yeah, you can judge them, but you're the one sitting there in it, yeah, because you're still in that environment where you don't want to be there. You want to be where you are now, right? So judgment is a tool, and it's a really good one, because
it was a great call to action, and
yeah, it's like, man, I'd be thanking those guys. Thank you for coming in here and having that conversation, because it got me out of here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are awesome. Peace out. I'm gonna go and be in my little crib, yeah, without having to listen to you guys, right? And this is the difference of that level of frequency. Yeah, it's awesome, eh? So the other bit that you said, you know, the needing to know, right? When we've got feelings and thoughts and, you know, so often, and the old counseling models and the old therapy models and the psychotherapy, and we've got to dig into all of that stuff and understand it and figure out what it means. It's like, no, we don't. Just allow it space to move through, because otherwise we're going through intergenerational, ancestral, collective thoughts and feelings that, because I'm just talking about the experience that you had, and you're like, whoa, man, that's not mine. Yeah. Like half the stuff that comes into my mind is like, whoa, that's my mother's, right? Just hand that back to her. Thanks, mum. Yeah, that's not mine. And it's not just our parents. Clearly, we don't need to know. But as we learn in this work, there's a massive part of us that does need to know, because that's how we're conditioned. Right? How is it here? What does this mean? Yeah, I need to know. I need to understand, because that's the safety. When we create our own safety from within, right, we're like, man, I don't need to know what this means. I just need to get out of its way.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, eh? Because there's a fascination with me about it. It's like, I don't want to know what the stories and whatever it is, but I'm like, what? There's that need to, like, why is this coming through me? Why am I experiencing this? There's a little bit of that there, but what you said, it's like, if I'm, I don't know, some sort of fucking transmission of lower vibrational energy machine, and it's coming through for me for whatever reason, and it's that shit. Okay, just having that robust self-practice to know that I don't need to know this. Fuck, maybe it's just part of why I'm here. It can move through me, and as long as I can protect myself and my sanity in that, you're like, fuck, what does it matter? It's
Yep.
that.
It's a gift, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gift. And when
Thank you very much.
we're here doing the work, right? And anyone that is attracted to this work, to this space, to this community, is here to do that work, right?
Mm.
Of course we are. For the people that can't,
Mm.
and not everybody can move into this space. Yeah, and for a lot of us, it's because we've had a lot going on. Right? We've experienced a lot, and you don't need to get too woo-woo about it and go into past lives and all that. We can, of course, because I love that shit, right? But a lot of people in this space, a lot of people in this community, me myself included, we've navigated some stuff. There's a reason for that. We've got a lot of gold to create, and that means transmuting that stuff. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, you just touched on it, where you said something like, I didn't have a lot in my childhood, or, didn't, and I hear this a lot, where people diminish, what happened to them in their childhood. Don't do that, man. Don't do it, okay? Because, and I don't know if you've heard me speak about this before, but I hear a lot of people saying, well, I didn't have sexual abuse, or I didn't have violence, or I didn't have any of this, or if your parents were not emotionally available to you, that is the worst kind of abuse that anyone can ever experience. It's worse than violence. It's worse than sexual abuse, because sexual abuse and violence, there's still a connection there, right? You're still getting a connection. It's a dysfunctional one, sure, absolutely, but there's still a connection. You're still being seen. Right, you're still being acknowledged. There's still a validate. There's still do you get what I mean, Shane? It's like, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting, because if people come in and speak, ask about my experience or sharing their experience, like what you were just sort of saying there, maybe not quite as in depth as that, is that's generally the advice, if you want to say it, advice, or the experience that I actually pass on. Because to me, it's not so much in comparison to anything else, it's whatever the way that I reacted or responded to it through my life is just as real, because it's that feeling, that feeling could be the same as someone who's experienced something else. Like, if everything's internal and it's happened in here, it doesn't really matter what the event was. It's it's what I've made that mean at that time, at that age. It could be exactly the same as someone, if I'm in comparisonitis, has experienced something that's way more traumatic. It doesn't matter, that what I've created internally to that as a response could be exactly the same. And so I say that to people as well. I'm like, you know, your whatever's happened for you in your story is you, and that's yours. And that can be just as painful as something else. It's like, don't compare, just fucking deal with you and your pain or whatever.
Yeah, and even if it's not necessarily comparison, it's diminishing, right? It's like, oh, you know, I didn't have a rough childhood. I didn't, you know, it's like there's stuff there. There's stuff there, right? And if you keep diminishing it away, then it's never allowed to breathe, right? Because none of our parents fully met our needs. None of them. For love, for validation, for attention, acknowledgement, all of that, right? None of them met them fully. All of us are walking the world with unmet needs from childhood because our parents, surprise, surprise, weren't perfect. They had their own shit going on. Yeah, and we've all got these stories, right? Of, oh, you know, I felt unloved, and you know, all of this, and every single parent out there didn't want their kid at one point or another, right? Like it happened too soon, or you know, the circumstances aren't right. This is not the right person, right? Actually, man, I'm supposed to like have this career. I'm not sure I even want to be a parent, right? All of that. It's there and it's the truth. It doesn't mean that we don't love our kids. It just means that we're human. Yeah. And I would rather be a human being than trying to be a robot that's perfect, right? And to be able to articulate that to my kids. Yeah. Because I hear some parents that have real struggles with their kids, right? And their kids are saying, I hate you. I wish you weren't my mom. And, you know, and I'm saying, say to them, sometimes, dude, I wish you weren't my kid. So we're even Stevens. Let's move from there, shall we? Right? It's like, it's okay. Doesn't mean anything unless we make it mean something. And as we know, we're the experts at that. Right? Just, we've all got PhDs in attaching meanings to shit and making it mean shit that it doesn't mean. Right? It doesn't mean it. And especially if unworthiness, which is one of the most common beliefs out there, is at the top of your list, then everything means something about you. Oh my God, that person looked at me funny. Yeah. I mean, what my kid was, he did this like parkour move, and he heard these girls laughing, you know, just momentarily after he'd fallen. Like he tried this cool thing and it didn't pull it off, you know, okay. It was on the middle of Ponsonby Road, right? Lots of people around. And he heard the girls laughing and goes, oh, those girls were laughing at me. I was like, how do you know? How do you know they were laughing at you, dude? Yeah? I turned and I saw them. They were in a little circle. They weren't even looking at you, man. But do you see what I mean? We make it about us because that's what's playing out inside. Then everything that's happening outside of ourselves is there to confirm that belief. If we let it. If we don't, right? Because that's the choice we have. Hey, Mom, I thought those girls were looking at me. Oh, I looked straight at them when you were on the ground, still picking yourself up. They weren't even looking at you. Ah, okay. Must have made that up. Yep. Right? Yeah, it's good shit. It's good stuff. Hey, guys, this is the empowerment. This is what we're here to do. Sarah, you did have your hand up before. Shani's still got hers. Did you want to jump in or?
I just had a moment after you said the piece about ownership and responsibility and accountability and all that kind of stuff. And I just confirmation, because I do own up to my kids when I fuck up. And I just got a little bit emotional with that, just going, okay, cool. My question, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be ready to talk after that, but anyway, my question, just wanted to check before, Jax, when you were talking about asking your kids, like, what is it that I do that makes you feel loved? And then there was another one about, what is it that you, like as in the child, can do to make themselves feel loved? Did I get that down right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
And
Just bringing the reference point from out to in, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I did put a question up the top because it was in relation to like what Judy was saying about parents and all of that sort of stuff. And my question, and I guess it's not just in relation to parents and stuff, but when we spot judgments being thrown at us, how and is it even possible to flip that conversation around and go, I'm actually not completely sure that the judgment you're throwing at me is justified, or because they probably aren't going to see it. Do you know what I'm not sure if I can articulate that very well, but that whole, like, how do you have a conversation about that with people who aren't familiar with this kind of work? And I clocked myself this morning, like literally just before this call, rang my parents because I'm catching up with them before they go away again. And I said, and just a disclaimer, my house is in the process of being decluttered right now, knowing that previously they've come to my house and I've felt judged because Dad's either gone and got the lawnmower, or, Mum's started doing the dishes or whatever. And I'm getting much better at going, do you know what? Fuck it. If you can't accept me for the fact that I'm parenting and I would rather spend time with my children playing games with them or doing puzzles than doing housework, which, like, it's not like I live in a shit tip either. Do you know what I mean? Like that whole letting go of feeling judged by my parents because I'm like, like they're like you say, the measuring sticks, like how they parented and all of the stuff that they dealt with while parenting us is totally different to the stuff that we're having to not live up to now, because I'm like, nah, I'm not that pristine house, dinner on a table kind of mom,
like 1950s, all your hair done and everything's perfect, and yeah.
You might come home and I might be sitting and with my kids, and we might be sitting with some candles and we might be casting spells or whatever, like anything else except possibly cooking dinner. So it's that whole, like, if you, because I'm probably overthinking mind stuff around the whole conversation. Having dinner with my parents tonight, and Dad's like, what are you up to today? And I was like, actually, I'm taking the morning for myself. I cancelled a client because I'm not feeling 100%, probably because I've burnt the candle at both ends, listening to this work and doing other stuff, and going, but I really enjoy doing this stuff, so it's hard to switch it off. And Dad, that whole, like, and they'll be like, oh, what are you doing with business and all of that stuff? And I'm just like, I just almost not wanting to have that conversation, but wanting to have it in a real, like, actually, this is who I am now. Like, I'm not about a 9 to 5 bust a gut kind of thing. I'm about creating a life that I love, that I don't need to take a vacation from.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah. And our parents are never going to get that, right? Or no, it's not that they're never going to get it. It depends where we're coming from when we share it, right? That's the piece here. It's like when I can share something with my mother and it's not from a reactive place, she can actually receive it, right? She can receive it. But if I'm receiving what she's saying as judgment, and this is the piece, my love, because some people are always going to feel judged. They're always going to feel blamed, right? Because that's what they've been conditioned, right? We're all in this culture of blame and judgment and outward focus, right?
Blame stuff too, like it was
all of it,
or whatever.
Yep, all of it. Yeah, it's all outside of ourselves, because when none of us are looking inside, because we haven't been taught to. Right now, this work is available. It's like, holy shit! And then we've got to deal with parents who are still in that other place where it's all outward, right? My mother's own self-judgment gets reflected out on me because she's terrified of me being judged. because she's terrified of being judged, right? I know where it comes from, and I used to get really angry. Now I mean, I still wobble, don't get me wrong, right? This is it's progress. And we don't try and get this perfect because we're all human. Like if I'm tired and she says, "Why are you wearing that dress?" Right, I'll feel it. If I'm great and I'm like high energy, you know, it's like it won't touch me so much. But the piece here is like all judgment is self-judgment, right? All judgment is self-judgment. If you weren't judging yourself about your parenting and your house and your cleanliness and all of that, you wouldn't feel it as judgment, Sarah. Right? It's because you're judging yourself. Yeah. And the story I use is like, it's really simple. If someone comes up to me and goes, you're Mary. Oh, hi, Mary. And I'm like, my name is not Mary. I don't know who you're talking about. I'm not Mary. I'm not going to receive that as judgment because it's a fact, right? I'm not Mary. I know what my birth certificate says, right? But if someone comes up to me and goes, you're a bad parent, I'll go, oh, right? Because if there's, I mean, I don't no longer carry that, you know, get me on a tired day, I'm like, because it's there, it's still there, it never goes away. But I know for damn sure my name is not Mary. It's a tool. So if you're feeling judged by your parents, it's not them, it's got nothing to do with them. They're just reflecting back at you what you need to look at in yourself. Holy shit, I'm still judging myself about my parenting, about not keeping the house clean, right? Because we were raised in a perfect, you know, environment. I mean, my mother cleans, that's her pastime, right? Ooh, I need to do some dusting, right? I go over to her house, it's immaculate. It's immaculate. Me and my boys the other day, shit, it was so funny. Like she was in the other room and my boys were going around and like straightening everything. Like, I mean, it was already straight, but they were just taking the piss, right? And we were like straight, oh, that paper's a little bit off, ooh, you know, and we were just looking at each other and having a field day, right? Because we don't live like that. We got shit everywhere, man, and we don't care, right? We don't care. But it took me a while to get to that place. But if I'm making it about my mother, my dad, if I'm making it about the conversations I have to have with them, right, then I'm never looking at what I need to do to develop in myself to stop judging myself. Yeah? Because that you can change. And the other side of that, when you're working here, then you can have a conversation with your parents that isn't reactive, right? That starts to say, hey, look, I'm working on myself here. Yeah. And some of the conversations were around judgment with my mother. And I just said to her, look, I'm working with this internally about how I react to the things that you say, because I know that when she judges me, that's her way of loving me. Right? That's her way of loving me. Yeah, let that one land. Like when she comes in, she's doing the dishes, and when dad goes to get the lawnmower, and when they make comments about their house, that is their way of loving you. It's not the way you want them to love you. Let's get that really clear. It's not. But you think about where they've come from. You think about what's important to them. Not you, what's important to them. Because most of the world is operating from a place of what's important to them. Right? And I say to myself, Mom is just trying to love me. This is her way of loving me. You know, it's not that I don't say anything to her because it's a dance, right? I've said to her, look, you know, when you say that stuff, I feel it and it hurts. And I know you're trying to love me, you know, by telling me that I should be worrying about what my eyebrows look like in my 40s when, you know, you're 76, because that's how old she was at the time. She's like, oh, but when you get to 70s, and I'm like, Mom, you want me to worry about this for 35 years? Nah, thanks. I'm good. Right? But there's a lightness to it now because I know that she's trying to love me. It's her way of loving me. Yeah, it's not the way we want. It's not what we want. Yeah. Yeah. And it's something to reconcile within ourselves that when our parents come in and they pick at us and they say this thing, and my mum will be picking hair and little specks of flint fluff off my jumper, and I can't get it right with my mother. That's my story, right? Oh, you put on weight. Oh, you've lost weight. Oh, your hair looks better. Oh, when you do, it's never ending. Right? And when I really asked her, I said, look, Mum, if you ever heard the saying, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But she doesn't clock it that it's not nice. She thinks she's being helpful. That's the fucked up thing, right? She thinks she's being helpful by doing the things that she's doing. Yeah. Right, I'm dying for a pee, so I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves.
Sarah, I just wanted to talk about the comment you made about giving yourself time this morning when you needed to be present with the work and be on this call. And when I have those windows of time that I've got to manufacture and not have other parties at me or critiquing or whatever, they might be giving feedback about having dedicated time. What I say to the other party is that I have this priority project and this is my time allotment. And so that's where my focus sits right for that time. And then I just stop talking because this is a priority for you. You're allowed to prioritize it. You don't have to feel any misplaced guilt put at your feet. And you don't have to leak energy about it, that it's important to you. So I just thought I'd throw that in the mix. That I find that technique super helpful and it helped me shed some of my martyrdom stuff. So yeah, just wanted to pass that on.
Yeah, it was more, I'm not feeling 100%, but yeah, it's also that. Thank you.
Exactly. You're feeling crook as well. Yeah.
Alrighty. Martyrs from way back. Yeah. How's that feel, Sarah? Yeah. It's just, let these pieces land and let them land with compassion, right? Because we are living in a completely different world than our parents. And that's why it's hitting us like a truck, right? Because, and my mother said to me, we were in the mall yesterday, and she said, oh, I preferred the world the way that it was, right? I get it. I get it. Like even from when I was a kid, and I look at what kids do these days and how their fun is, like the Nerf guns and like, video games, and like we used to just have sticks outside, right? And that was it. It's changing, like it's changing so much.
Yeah.
The last 2 generations, and to when I say to you guys, look, it doesn't matter when things are all rosy and everyone's in a good mood. That doesn't mean shit. What matters is when we're in the middle of a shitstorm. How do we hold ourselves in that? And we are all in that big shitstorm right now because the world's changing so fast. So how do we hold ourselves in that while it's changing? Yeah, and this work, because what we are doing here. We had sticks, Mike. What we're doing here in this work is being able to hold ourselves in the present moment without dragging all this shit from the past, right? And then projecting it into the future. And when we can do that, it means that we're here now. It doesn't matter the world that we came from, right? Will our parents get that? My mum has made some big shifts, right? Because I have brought a different version of me to the relationship, right? And now we talk completely differently. Like when I said to her, how about we talk about your hair, right? That's a first. Like I've never done that before. That was a bit of genius dropped in right there, because she didn't want to talk about her hair. She wants to talk about mine, but she doesn't want to talk about hers. Isn't that interesting, Mum, that you don't want to talk about your hair? I know she got that. She didn't say anything about my hair yesterday, actually. Funny that. because this was a conversation, you know, last week. Yeah. So, you know, hold yourself compassionately in your dressing gown.
It's my hoodie.
You look so comfy and cozy. I've got a bit of, what is it? A hoodie.
It's a hoodie.
Hoodie. I've got a bit of hoodie envy. Hoodie envy.
Well, I don't normally get them. They normally end up in the girls' room, but I can thiefed it back.
Good on you. I would too.
Mm.
Yeah. Alrighty. Beautiful. Thank you for bringing yourself into the space, even though you didn't feel like talking. It's, you know, it's powerful stuff for everyone to be hearing. Yeah, because as I said, we live in a world of judgment and, you know, all that lower density stuff. Cool. All right, Shani. Shani, what's up?
Lowering my hand. I just had a bit of a share. It wasn't really a question. I had a really fucking amazing week last week, and it wasn't because of anything that happened. I just it's a week that I was just really fucking connected to me. And I felt like for the first time in a really, really long time, I wasn't trying to get away from myself. Like I wasn't waking up in the morning and like, you know, reaching for my phone or getting on social media. Or it was like I sort of meditated every day, and I was really content at home, which is unusual. Normally I'm like, oh, where can I go? What can I do? And the whole extrovert working from home wasn't actually like the struggle that it normally is. Yeah, and it was just like, I felt like I was going to have a really big drop last week, and I didn't. And I felt super connected to me and just super content and happy. And I made some really big changes. Like I put in an application to join a co-housing community in Heidelberg, which is like north of the city. Yeah. And so it's not a like I have no idea when they have vacancies. It's not a done deal. But you have to put an application in to be sussed out if you are in fact the right kind of person that they want in their community. And yeah, I just felt like it felt like this amazing, it felt like where I wanted to be and what I wanted to go, and it just felt really, really true for me. And it was really incredible to spend like just a day or so just going through their questions and just really thinking about it and really kind of putting my heart into it. And I think it also sort of has created a space where I feel that rather than sitting in the suburbs, feeling lonely in a nice house and struggling with, you know, all the costs of living and all the, like we've had 2 years of interest rate rises in Australia. So everyone's mortgage payments have doubled in 2 years. And so rather than just like beating my head up about that, I was like, no, fuck it. Like on Monday I had the real estate out here. I'm like, right, what could I sell it for? What could I rent it out for? Mm-hmm. And now it feels like I don't know when it's going to change or how it's going to change. But right now I'm now just really enjoying my house because I'm like, it doesn't feel like a millstone around my neck. I'm like, oh, fuck, I might not be here in a month. You know, I might not be here in 6 months. Yep. And it feels like it's a huge fucking shift. Like it's a massive thing, a massive change. But it also feels really cool because I feel like I've had this thing where I'm like, all right, you know, I was raised by a single mama that moved every year from, you know, housing commission to freaking caravan in someone's backyard to, you know, like a real gypsy lifestyle. And when I had Caleb, I'm like, no, fuck it. Like house, dad, mortgage, like I'm going to give my kid what I didn't have. And so when I brought this place, I was like, yes, we're going to live here forever. And now I'm like, like I'll probably, you know, I don't think I'll sell it. I think I'll keep it. But I'm like, we could take a year and we could go live over there and we might hate it and we can come back in a year. We'll just suck it up for a year. But it's like, I'm not looking at this and going, I have to, you know, I have to be here forever because I bought this house. It's not like this white knuckled grip on, you know, this is my life now. And And I feel like I've also taken the responsibility for making myself happy back for me, because I think previously my sort of solution for being like, oh, I don't want to, be a single parent family by myself, living like this. And it's always been, okay, well, like I need to actually date people. I actually need to find someone I want to live with. I need to make steps to solve my situation. And now I'm like, oh, fuck that. I'm just going to go live in a community, right? Fuck dating. Like, I don't need to be like, I need this so I can get that thing, or I need this to change my situation. I'm like, actually, I can change my situation. And that feels really cool and really powerful. It feels like a lot of sort of there's a word for it, WolfPack, I can't remember, it's like self-actualizing, whatever it is, but it's like self-resourcing. Ha! Yeah, it's like, I would really love to be part of a bigger family than what I am. Okay, how do I self-resource that? Wow, I could go live in Heidelberg in like a community of 40 people. Self-resourced. And just letting go, I think, of the need for, slowly prizing my fingers off the need to know how something will work out before I can make a step in that direction. It's like, I have no idea whether I'll hate this or love this, and everything in my life would change. But fuck, like I could do it and hate it and do it for a year and come back. Like, no harm, no foul.
Exactly.
So that kind of feels cool to like not have to have like a firm idea of what I think the end result will be in order to make the steps towards it.
Yep. That's it, because then the magic is there, right? It's like we can hold an end result and not know how we're going to get there. We follow, you guys have heard me say the breadcrumbs, right? We follow the breadcrumbs. We don't even see the trail. They're not all there yet. It's like it's a leap of faith, right? We're going in blind with this work because we let go of the need to know. It's like if we have all the steps laid out, there's no magic there, right? And the magic comes and it's fucking phenomenal. And you create this life and these things happen. It's like, I could never have seen that coming. But what you've done, Shani, which is so powerful, right? You have given an incredibly powerful message to your subconscious, right? And when I say the universe is in here, it is, right? Oh, the universe is out there. No, it's not. It's in here, right? It's all in here because what's out here is a reflection of what's going on in here, right? But you've given yourself a powerful message with the step that you've done. Right? Even if this community isn't the one that works out, it's like you've given a message to yourself that is going to set things in motion externally from you. That's going to start showing you things that are going to be in line with this choice that you've now made. And that is gold, right? It's gold. Yeah. It's like we step out, right? We lean out, we lean in, we put a stake in the ground. But most of us won't put that stake in the ground because we don't know how it's going to work out, right? It's not safe. I don't have all the answers, right? And I've been having a few conversations with a couple more people that are thinking about level 4, and it's like, but I need to know this and I need to know that. And it's like, it's not what it's about, right? This is about leaping off the ledge without a parachute.
Feels like that.
Yeah, it does. It fucking does, right? When I say this work is not for the faint-hearted, like it's really not, because it's uncomfortable. And it's confronting and challenging. And when you said before that you kind of get off on like the self-responsibility, and I'm like, man, I know what you're talking about because I do too. Yeah. There's a book called Existential Kink. If you haven't read it, read it, because this is what it's about, right? It's about finding joy, pleasure, and like, getting off on the shit, right? Because it's hilarious what we put ourselves through, what we create. Yeah. And one thing, like Sarah, I know you're feeling sort of, real low energy at the moment, but as you deepen into this work, the energy that you are going to get back because so much of it we waste, right? You've heard that quote, 98% of the energy that we use as humans is a complete waste of time, right? Neil Donald Walsh wrote it in the book Conversations with God, and it's true. And I was dumbfounded by that. I was like, really? Surely not. But the paths of, the tangents of thinking and the meanings we attach and the spirals we go down, and that takes a lot of energy. The way that we react to life, to ourselves, to other people, to life itself, to the world. And when we stop doing that, we have all this energy and we're running around like Energizer bunnies, right? Yeah. So, it's powerful stuff that when we leap off that ledge, not knowing where we're going to, right? And for you, Sarah, I know you've leaped off a big fucking ledge, man, just diving into this work, and it's huge. Yeah, and we're all here alongside you, having done that leap before or still in the leap, right? It's like free falling when you don't know what's going to happen. And when we can start to shift, it's the Tony Robbins pain pleasure dynamic, right? When we can start to find pleasure in it. Right? When we can start to find pleasure in feeling judged by other people. Because when we get, when it hits you, right? Like when someone says bad parent rather than calling me Mary, and it hits me, I'm like, oh, okay, I got something to do there. Cool, right? I've seen something about myself. Because that's exactly what you said. I had that going on, man. Then I just said to my mum, if you don't like my, if you got a problem with my house, just don't come over then. It's that simple, right? But I love some of the comments. Yeah, they're cleaning. Clean ahead, Mum. Look, shall I get you the cloths? I've got some cleaning. I'm just going to sit over here with a cup of tea, right? Because my mum loves cleaning. She loves it. I hate it. Yeah. And my wonderful housemate, who Shani's met, so quite a number of you have met, he likes to cook. I don't like cooking. He likes cooking. It's great. But if I'm judging myself about not cooking and then I'm making myself cook because, I'll look bad and, all of that shit, no. It's like, dude, I'll just give you some coaching, man. Do you want to cook for the kid? I'm all over it. Just take whatever you want from my fridge. We'll do the dishes. I don't mind doing the dishes. It's weird, right? I'm all over the dishes. The cooking, it's not my jam. All right. Beautiful. So beautiful, Shani. I'm loving your share, right? And what the power of it that can be received by all of us by making these steps and putting ourselves into the uncomfortability, right? And then sharing it with everyone else, right? Get on a thread, get in the group, go live, go, holy shit, man, I just made this choice. And I'm like, whoa, and everyone's going to go, power to your sister, and right?
Shane got a whole bunch of obsessively happy messages that day.
Awesome. This is it, right? Because we're all here doing our own version of that. Yeah. Yeah, and it's powerful, and especially for those of you who are just diving into this work, right, and seeing the other ones who have been in here a while, right? It's like the difference is that first premise that came in, the first one that came in the call that Judy brought in, right? When we make our thoughts and feelings real, when we make the way that we're feeling mean something, right? It's like, man, diving into this work, leaping off those cliffs, choosing to be here with us is gonna be uncomfortable, right? You're gonna be navigating some big, right? And just know that we've all experienced that before. And as we step further into the life that we want to create, the relationships that we would love, it's coming up, right? It's coming up because we're choosing not to stay safe anymore. and shifting our focus onto that rather than the, you know, than the stressful what we're making it mean, all of that. Yeah, the fact that you guys are on this call, I don't know whether you guys know, but there's a main WolfPack group that has like 280 people in it. Now we've got a connection mastery group from the giveaway and the 10 days of free training that has 270 people in it, right? It's almost caught up, which is just wow. I'm kind of like, what am I going to do with these two groups? You know, anyway, that's not your job, but you know, it's like there's a lot of people here that I put this in front of. You guys are the ones that showed up. You guys. Yeah, I'm celebrating that. Yeah, and Leanne, I think you're at work and you're here, right? You're here. It's awesome. It's so great to see your face. And I know Aaron, because I can see Aaron's messages that are, you know, and on the thread here, and I know he's here, he's listening. Right? You guys are the ones that are here. Celebrate that. In amongst all of the stuff that's coming up and landing and slapping you in the face when those beliefs come up, because they do for all of us. And what we're doing here is to learn how to navigate that with as much grace as we can and a shitload of humor, because I tell you, it really helps. Shane, it really fucking helps. Yeah. Yeah. We got to laugh. Yeah. All right, beautiful people. We're gonna close this call. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your sharing all of it. Right, even when things are really unrosy and hairy as hell. Hairy as hell. That's a good one. You know, we want to hear it. And when we can bring both aspects of ourselves into it, yeah. Yeah, like Sarah, the fact that you take ownership with your kids, man, what a gift you are giving them. What a gift.
Well, I've noticed that they're starting to take a bit more ownership too.
Of course. That's what's going to happen, right? More and
Well,
more.
one more than the other, but there's 2 years age difference. So we'll just go a little bit more frontal temporal development, and the one that's taking a bit more ownership than the other. And we won't say anything about the scorpion.
No. 25 years old.
Mm.
We don't have a fully developed functional brain until we are 25. So if you have kids that are under 25, really take that on. Yeah, they are still going to be doing stupid shit because they don't have a prefrontal cortex. That's the rational, logical part, the reasonable part. Yeah, they don't have that yet. So we want to get to a place where we are in touch with that part of ourselves, right? And that's the ownership, right? It's coming from us. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, powerful, guys.
Just super quick, Jack. Yesterday I mentioned about doing the supported shaking for Felicity when I could plot where she was going and was like, actually, and then suggested that she jelly bean, or which is one of her things, or do whatever to move her body, and she was just fully in the not doing it. And I'm like, right, let's go, and picking her up. My question around that was around like, are you holding that emotion in if you're bouncing with her, or is it just because she's not necessarily doing it of her own volition, but she was happy sitting on my hip even though she was crying, but you know, she was crying a little bit. She was just genuinely like bleh. And that whole, like, you know, if someone's an emotional piece and you touch it, it's almost like cement, you know, like confirming, or yeah, do you know what I mean?
I think so. I mean, you know, we model the behavior with our kids, right? Like if my boy, that example that I use, if my boy had said, "Nah, I don't want to go into your room and hit pillows," no, I don't want to do that, right? Just the fact that I've said that I'm going to do that is a reference point, right?
Yeah.
So they might not want to. I mean, sometimes I don't even want to do the tools, right? I don't want to do that. I was like, I just want to stay in my reaction and dwell in it, and you know. And it's the same for the kids.
Yeah.
Right? But if we do it, if we take ourselves, if we show that we're modeling that, right, and we're the ones that take the action, that they're going to see that as such a big reference point that we're providing for them. Yeah, but not to have expectations around them actually doing it.
Yeah,
because that's not cool, right? That's not going to help. It's just going to come out as control. Yeah. But if you had her on your knee, right, or if you like put some music on, you started dancing like an idiot, right, and she'll,
yeah, which is what we did. Like we had the music, and I just picked her up, and we were like jiggling around together.
Yeah, it's an invitation.
Yeah,
it's an invitation.
Well, pretty soon I'll just be like, I can't pick you up. You're welcome to join me because you're too.
Yeah. But kids, the play is the language of children. If we bring play, they are going to engage with it, right? Even sometimes when my youngest boy's like me, like I'll do a stupid face or a stupid accent or start running after him and tickling him, whatever. He'll snap out of it fast. Yeah, but if I get in all controlly and expectation-y and demandy, oppositato.
I like oppositato.
Opposato. It is the opposato.
Like Italian.
Yeah.
Like, let's go to Italy and we'll drink some wine. And we'll
Yes.
eat bread and spaghetti.
I think WolfPack trip to Italy. Yes. Yes. I have once eaten 4 gelatos in one go in Italy. So I could just beat that record. We could just go, let's just do that. Let's plant that seed. Imagine that. Next WolfPack retreat in Italy. Imagine that. Cool. That looks tasty. Leanne, what is it? It's a croissant.
An almond croissant.
Oh, right now I'm hungry. All right, guys, we are going to take a leaf out of Leanne's book and go and do whatever it is that we're going to go and do after this call. But first, Leanne has to swallow her food so that she can WolfPack yell out with us, because this is how we close the call. It never gets old. Join me by taking yourselves off mute and howling it out, because this is what we do. All right, beauties. Thank you so much for your energy. See you guys in the groups. See you guys on the various threads that we're on. Share, go live, ask questions, right? I will go back over this thread to see if there was anything I missed. And if I did and I don't catch it and it's still there for you, then please let me know, right? Because I can always speak about it on the group and other people can benefit from that as well. All right, beauties. So much love to you. Look forward to seeing you in the groups. Ciao for now.
Ciao.
Bye, loves.
Bye.